I've always been told that I need to spend a ton of time finding my why, figuring out my reason for working hard, figuring out my reason for doing more, figuring out my reason for trying to improve myself and trying to be better and trying to live a healthier life. This is something that you've probably heard as well. It's like personal development 101. We all talk about it. We all push it as the solution for being more motivated. Because if you have a strong why, if you have an emotional why, a reason for showing up, it makes it easier to show up. And I think there's truth to that. In fact, I talk about it in my first book, Tiny Leaps, Big Changes. But my question has always been, how do you actually find that? Like, how do you navigate the process of finding your why? That's something that's been on the top of my mind for a little while now, so I want to talk about it. Because this is Tiny Leaps. Big changes, big changes, big changes, big changes, big changes. So in my case, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot more and more lately, trying to figure out what is my actual reason for doing this podcast, for example, or for building the app, or for any of the number of things that I'm doing. What is my actual reason for doing it? And I keep falling into this trap, this issue that I think probably a lot of us fall into. You see, the common trap that I fall into is feeling like my why needs to be this huge selfless thing. Like it needs to be like Mother Teresa levels of altruism. Something like wanting to help underprivileged communities, or because I want to fix climate change, or to support children because they're our future. It feels like it needs to be big. It feels like it needs to be this huge thing. And maybe that would be nice. If those were naturally your reasons, maybe that would be nice. But if they're not, should you really feel bad about them? Like, how do we approach it if that's not actually your why, if that's not actually that motivating for you? Like, yes, of course, I want to help underprivileged communities. And of course, I want to end climate change. But I can't do those things, at least not by myself. Maybe I can contribute in some way, but I wouldn't even know where to start. Those things aren't that motivating to me in my day-to-day life. Maybe grand scheme, maybe grand scale, they're motivating. But they're not that motivating to me on a day-to-day basis. And I know that there are people out there who those things and those types of things, that level of thing is incredibly motivating. But that historically hasn't been me. And up until recently, I felt bad about that. I felt like, well, it's not really my why if it's not this big grand gesture. But I was at the gym recently, and I was thinking about this while I was doing my workout. And I think I finally landed on something that works for me, at least. And I want to share that with you. Because I think what we need to do is recognize that your why should be selfish, first and foremost. So let's get something straight. Your why doesn't have to be some big noble cause or anything like that. It can be something small. It can be something that's all about you and what makes you happy. It can be selfish. And in many ways, it should be selfish. Because if your why is to, let's say, start a business, and the only reason you want to do that is so that you can be your own boss and make some serious money, why isn't that fine? Why is it that we need to convince ourselves that we are starting a business so that we can impact millions of people around the globe and blah, 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 PR bullshit? Like, it's not real. Maybe for some people, but I'm willing to bet for most of us, it's not real. The fact that it is authentic to you, the fact that your reason is to make a lot of money, is to be your own boss, is to be more free, or is to do whatever your reasons are, that's enough. It doesn't have to be anything more than that, because the purpose of your why at the end of the day is simply to support you. It's simply to motivate you. It's not to motivate anyone else. It's for you, first and foremost. So your why should start selfishly. And when you're figuring out your why, you've got to remember that the decision ultimately belongs to you. It shouldn't be based on other people's values or ideas. It needs to come from inside you. And if that means that it's something silly and tiny and not that consequential for anyone outside of you, that's okay. It is. That is okay. Yes, it is important, and I talk about this all the time. It is important to think about more than just ourselves. It is important to think about more than just our needs. It is important to think about personal development and self-help and self-improvement as a vehicle for giving us what we need to help others. I truly, fully believe that, but I also believe that all of the action you can take by finding something that truly motivates you and being selfish in that decision is going to outweigh all of the talking about action that you do because you're pursuing some PR why that you created because it sounds nicer. So focus on you. Focus on what you need. And the last thing that I was thinking about that I've started to adopt into my philosophy and my search for a why is that your why is going to evolve. It's something that's going to grow and change as you do, as you age, as you experience new things. Your why, your reason, whether it's something selfish or something large. Maybe it started large and then became selfish. Maybe it started selfish and became large. Who knows? But it's going to change at some point. That might be a month from now. That might be tomorrow. That might be 20 years from now. But it's going to change. What motivates you will change. And that's okay. Take that into the process. Recognize that that change will come and give yourself the room to reassess and redefine what your why is. Get selfish in this conversation and make sure that you are pursuing things that you want to do first and foremost, because ultimately that's what's going to help you help other people. So I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know if you're watching this on YouTube or TikTok or wherever you might be watching this. Drop a comment wherever you can drop comments, I guess. And for those of you listening, thank you for being here. Be sure to hit follow or subscribe or whatever the button says on your platform. I would love to connect with you. Head over to Instagram at Tiny Leaps or TikTok if you're there at Tiny Leaps and just say hi. Let me know what you think about the show. My name is Greg Clunis. Thank you so much. And remember that all big changes come from the tiny leaps you take every day.